So, guys, what are the 7 things I wish I knew when I was this skinny fat Daniel on the left? As you can see on the right, this is me now. I'm lean, I'm around 10-11% body fat, and I'm actually 20 pounds heavier than I am in the pictures on the left. So, I've gained about 25 pounds of or I've gained about 25 pounds of muscle while getting leaner. So, now I'm going to tell you guys 7 things I wish I knew before I did this. Okay, let's get into it. Your dream physique, so this is a big problem I see with people. You have to understand your dream physique is not under the fat. Now, is some weight loss necessary? Yes, but only in the form of fat loss, which I say in this slide. We need to build the muscle while we shed the body fat, and I use these pictures very specifically. As you can see on the picture on the far left, I'm 175 pounds, and I am skinny fat. I'm probably 23% body fat, 24% body fat there. And then I lost 25 pounds. I got down to 150 pounds. But notice how I look exactly the same. I look exactly the same. I just look smaller. Now look in the picture on the right. I'm lean, I'm defined, and just to give you guys a perspective, the picture on the far left was me in July of 2021. The picture in the middle is me September 2021, so about 2.5, almost 3 months later. It was like late September 2021. Me on the far right is only December of 2021. It's only about 3 months after that picture from September, because in September is when I started prioritizing building muscle while I shed the body fat. All right, so as you can see, this is a perfect visualization that your dream physique is not under the body fat, because I lost 25 pounds of body fat and I looked the same. It wasn't until I started building muscle. Second slide. Fats and your protein are more important than your calories. Now, calories are still extremely important because we need to be losing the body fat, and the only way to do that is to eat in a calorie deficit. But your fats are there to optimize your testosterone. Your protein's there to optimize for muscle growth. It also helps keep you more full. It burns more calories in digestion. It has a bunch of different benefits, but the main benefit is to build muscle and keep you lean. And like I say in the first paragraph, the main driver behind the skinny fat to rip transformation is fat loss combined with muscle growth. So, in order to do that, yes, we still do need to prioritize calories. But as you saw in that first slide, when I was just prioritizing calories, I looked the same after losing 25 pounds. And as you saw on that first slide, I did gain, or I stayed the same weight, but I just built muscle. And part of that was because I started prioritizing the protein while I started lifting weights, which in the third slide, you see me say, lifting is more important than cardio. I used to do intense cardio 2 to 4 times per week and lift weights maybe once, maybe twice on a rare occasion per week. And I lost weight, as you saw in that first slide, but I barely got any definition until I started prioritizing lifting weights, and I started lifting maybe 3 to 5 times a week. I was still developing my mindset and my discipline. So it started off like 2 to 3 times a week, and then I got up to like 4 or 5 times a week, and I consistently got leaner. And the pictures on the right, this is a 1 year transformation. I legitimately got my dream physique in 1 year of fitness. From when I set out on this journey, I got my dream physique a year later. And obviously, I didn't finish. I've gained tons of muscle since then. I've learned a lot and everything. But the fact that I gained my dream physique in my first year gave me so much confidence. And I was so happy with that. I'm still super happy with that. But back to the slide, me at the top I was doing cardio like 2 to 4 times a week. I was playing basketball with my friends, and I was watching my weight decrease, because I was like, every time I'm playing basketball, I'm losing weight while I'm sticking to my diet. That was a big thing for me at the time when I was skinny fat. I was pretty diligent with tracking my food and sticking to my calorie deficit. But when it comes to exercise and training, I was just doing cardio. Maybe I'd lift weights occasionally, but it wasn't ever consistent. It wasn't until I started doing it consistently, which I saw, was when I saw the great results, the lean result, the lean, the definition, the muscle, everything I was looking for came after I started lifting weights. And then another big thing, which I talk about in this slide, is that the more muscle you build, the more food you can eat. And now this is coming from somebody who was a former fat kid. Obviously, I became skinny fat through exercise, calorie deficit, everything, but I always had that big appetite. That's why I was always fat growing up. I was borderline obese at one point. I always had a big appetite. I still have a big appetite, but when I remember hearing this quote one time. Someone said, "You know, the more muscle you build, the more food you can eat." And from that point on, that just even more. I think I was already starting to get into lifting weights a bit more because I wanted more results. But once I heard that, I was like, "Oh, bro, I'm gonna be in this gym. Like, I need to be in this gym. I need to be building this muscle way more so I can eat more food and get leaner. And it takes more energy for my body to maintain that muscle. So I need it." So as you see here, like that the secret is just building muscle. You can eat more food and you actually look how you want to look. And then the fifth thing I wish I knew when I was skinny fat is that more volume does not equal more growth. Now this is going to apply to me later on, like once maybe when I was like a few months into lifting weights and I was starting to actually see some definition. But I got in this bad cycle of doing more volume and not even necessarily chasing more volume, but chasing more soreness. Because as you guys know, soreness in the gym, it never goes away, but that initial soreness in your first few weeks in the gym is because you're really new to the exercises and you're training your muscles in a different way than you've ever trained them before, right? You're training them hard. And if your lifestyle before this was not physically intense, this is a complete shock to your body, a complete shock to your muscle. So you get sore, but after about a month and a half, 2 months, your body starts to get used to some of the exercise you're doing, and although the soreness never goes away, I mean, I'm a few years into it, I still get sore. It's nothing like it was compared to the beginning, but I just associated that soreness with seeing results with building muscle. So when the soreness started to taper off a bit, I was just like, okay, I need to do more. Like this is a sign that my muscles aren't growing anymore. I don't know what I was doing, but it resulted in muscle growth plateaus because I stopped building muscle because I was actually overtraining and doing junk volume. So what you want to do, and what I came to learn, is that the research says that taking a low volume, which means low amount of sets per workout or per week, low volume but high intensity approach is very beneficial, and that's the right way to get the results you're looking for, build the muscle while you shed the body fat. Because low volume, so you're only doing like 8 to 12 sets per week, 8 to 12 sets per workout if you train different muscles on different days. But high intensity, like every set you're taking, like you're only doing 8 sets or so, 8, 10, 12 sets or so, but every set you're taking a failure. And also incorporate like longer rest times too, right? That goes hand in hand with it. You need to be resting. If you're training a failure, rest like 3 minutes in between each set, just so your nervous system and your muscles can recover a little bit, so they can actually give the best force and perform the best on your next set. Now, this one is a big one, and a lot of you guys are making this mistake. Your tracking is way off. And I only say this because, in hindsight, knowing how much calories are in how big portions of food now, I look in hindsight and I recognize I was overeating way more calories than I thought. And I was I was inaccurately tracking completely. Now, I'll give you an example. I I really like peanut butter, so what I would do when I was skinny fat, or when I was like at the start of my journey, sometimes I would get like a big spoonful of peanut butter, and this wasn't necessarily always, um, on like a cheat day. Like sometimes, like I would still figure out a way to fit it into my diet, like fit it into my calorie deficit. Um, but I would get like a massive spoonful. It was probably like equivalent to like 4 or 5 tablespoons of peanut butter. But since it fit on 1 tablespoon, I was like, oh, this is like one, maybe 2 tablespoons technically. It wasn't until I eventually later on, maybe like 2 years later, weighed out how much peanut butter I was actually having. I was like, dude, I'm eating 200, 300, 400, and peanut butter is really calorically dense. Like there's a lot of calories for not that many, not that like physically big. I was eating like 400, 500 calories more than I thought, which was the reason that my progress was so inconsistent when it came to fat loss, when it came to weight loss. It was so inconsistent because I was overeating, and it wasn't just for peanut butter, it was for a bunch of different things. So I recommend, and I highly suggest, I have my clients do this, even if you don't, even if not, you're not like me and weigh out the majority of your foods just for maximum accuracy. Even if you just weigh out your foods once, just so you can get a perspective of, okay, this is what 4 ounces of chicken looks like. This is what 100 grams of peanut butter looks like, or of this looks like, just so you can get that perspective so that you can track that much more accurately in the future. You'll see the results much, much more quicker. And you'll feel like the results come a lot more consistently. Now, the last one, if I'm talking to former Daniel, who's skinny fat, I'm gonna tell him you're shooting yourself in the foot because your sleep sucks, right? Like I'm sticking to my diet. I'm taking it seriously. Like I'm hungry. I'm low energy. Like it sucks. I'm hitting my workouts, and this is all new to me. Like I developed all these habits over the span of like 8 months, from going from a complete loser playing video games all day, overeating, to then lifting weights consistently, sticking to my diet, really putting in the work. But if I were talking to that version of myself, I would say, just take that extra step and build the discipline for your sleep. You'd be much less hungry. You'd have higher testosterone. You'd build more muscle. You'd stay leaner, burn fat faster. You'd have better workouts. Like your workouts, you'd have more energy for them. Your muscles would be more recovered. You'd actually build more muscle. Like that contributes to you building more muscle. And you'd have a higher NEAT, which stands for non exercise activity thermogenesis, which is like if you walk to the bathroom. That's not considered exercise or activity, right? That's why it's called non exercise activity. But it's still like your body's moving. Your body still needs energy to perform those little things: typing on a keyboard, texting on your phone, blinking, talking. Like all these things still require your body energy to perform these actions, but they're not exercise. It's not like you're going on a run or you're playing a sport, you're lifting weights, right? So you'd have a higher need because if you have more energy, you're more likely to fidget, to type on a keyboard, to just do these extra things which help you burn more calories, which speed up the fat burning process. Right. So you have a higher one of those, and you also just be happier. Like when you get more sleep, you're just in a better mood. I think everyone can attest to that. So stop neglecting it. If I could speak to my former version of myself, that's what I would tell him. And these 7 things are very, very essential. If we go back to the beginning, remember your dream physique is not under the body fat. You need to start prioritizing fats and protein in order to build muscle and optimize your testosterone over calories. Now, that doesn't mean neglect calories, start eating in a calorie surplus or at maintenance, or stop tracking calories. You still need to track calories, but if you're already eating in a calorie deficit, it's not enough, is essentially what I'm saying. Like eating in a calorie deficit is good. If you already got that habit down, then start prioritizing protein and fats, because that's what's actually going to get you from skinny fat to that lean physique. Calories and just focusing solely on those results in just weight loss, if you're just not even focusing on macronutrients, because most people naturally undereat in protein, and they have a high carb diet and a high fat diet. That's why carbs get like a bad rep, because they're not bad intrinsically, just people overeat with them, and they undereat protein in their healthy fats, so they gain weight in the form of body fat purely. Um, and yeah, so furthermore, slide 3 was lifting weights is more important than cardio. Slide 4 was the more muscle you build, the more food you can eat. This will apply to you former fat kids or people who just have a big appetite. Slide 5 was the more volume does not equal the more growth, or the more soreness does not equal more growth. Number 6 is your tracking is probably way off if you're not weighing out your food or you haven't weighed out your food before. And number 7, you're shooting yourself in the foot if your sleep sucks. And also, just going back to number 6, your tracking is way off if you haven't weighed yourself before. This doesn't necessarily apply to things that already have nutrition labels. If you have a Quest bar, it says one serving, which is the whole bar, is 180 calories or so, right? You don't have to weigh that out. It tells you, it's speaking for the whole bar, this is 180 calories. But if you have peanut butter, it says a whole jar of peanut butter, it says 2 tablespoons or 32 grams is 190 calories, right? So if you don't know how much 32 grams looks like, then you're gonna likely be inaccurate. So that's why I recommend tracking. But yeah, guys, I hope this was helpful. Follow my Instagram. Today we're on day 216 of doing 50 morning push-ups. Our goal is to get to 1,000 days in a row. So we're on day 216. Follow my Instagram. You'll not miss that. I also post a lot of just life updates and skinny fat tips. So if you're really serious about this and you want more insight from me, follow my Instagram, because there's a lot more consistent content on that and consistent value. So I'll see you guys there. You can always DM me, tell me you're from YouTube. I'll say what's up. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Love you guys.